Hello everyone, it's Brian. On Sunday I went to the Toronto-Mississauga Vinyl, Record and Collectibles show. And I'll just maybe say right off the bat, why do they have to say vinyl record? Can't they just say record and collectible show? Do people not know what records are? Do we have to overuse the word vinyl every chance we get? I mean, really, at least they didn't say vinyls. But vinyl record and collectible show in Etobicoke at the Etobicoke Olympium. So first I wanted to say something about my last video because some people have reported to me that they had made comments that didn't stick, or they disappeared somehow, which has happened before. I've noted that I've received video or comments on videos sometimes months after the fact, like they just show up like they're new comments, but they were posted like 6 months ago. So that may be what's happening here. Sometimes they never show up. I've had someone told me they made a comment on a video that just never ever appeared, so that's weird. I do check the comments that are held for moderation, and there's never anything in there, so it is pretty wacky. So I always acknowledge comments, and if I'm posting a new video, you can be sure that I would have gone through all the old comments on the previous video. So if I didn't reply to you, it's because I haven't seen the comment and maybe it's not there anymore. So the record show, I went there, my plan was to meet up with Rob from Northern Revolutions and with the channel host from the channel Press to Play. Unfortunately, Rob was unable to attend, but I did meet up with Press to Play, and that was great. And as it happens, near the end or partway through the show, I ran into someone I've known for over 30 years, a friend of mine. And for some reason, we went to the last show together, but I forgot to connect with him, so we just ran into, I guess we assumed that the other person would be there, so that was kind of fun. So that was good. So what is the good news about the show? The good news, it was $5 admission, and the other ones are $5 too, but they have this incentive. You pay $30 at the last one, you could get in with an early access, which stupidly we paid. I'm not sure it was worth it, because to be honest, the shows haven't been very crowded recently since the pandemic, so it was $5. The location was the Etobicoke Olympium in Etobicoke, which is kind of part of Toronto, but between Mississauga and Toronto, and it was a good location, nice spacious gymnasium, good lighting. I think there were more vendors than the previous show, lots of space to move around. I think it was a good location. Now, I would say generally speaking that since the pandemic, I think there are fewer people going to record shows. Maybe my impression is wrong, but I think there are. And I think the prices are higher. I mean, that would make sense just because inflation, over the last 3 or 4 years. But I think the prices are higher. I watched a video recently that I really connected with from Robert Fithen, who talked about record shows, and I really related to some of the things he said, like the early admission charges and that kind of things. But he said two things especially that I always find problematic, and we're here again. So there are vendors who had bins that were so tightly packed you couldn't actually look through them. You'd be fighting to see what it is. And I remember overhearing a guy saying, just take some records out, so give yourself some space. Well, why do you put so many in to begin with? It's just impossible to look at them. There were two vendors that had no prices on their records. So you have to hold up, says, how much is this? And he'd say, $30. How much is this? $60. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why just put prices on your records? It's so irritating. You have to ask for every single thing. And honestly, I didn't buy anything from any of those people because I was so tired of saying, how much is this? How much is this? How much is this? So stupid. The weird thing is I didn't take any photos or video. I wanted to. As I walked in, I took a photo of the sign that announced where the show was, and I totally forgot about that component. And I looked online afterwards, and I found one photo that the promoter had taken, and if you look closely, you can actually see me in the photo. So that's cool. So I'm going to start with apologies to Rob because I know you don't like the Rolling Stones, and the first thing I'm going to show you is a Rolling Stones record, Beggar's Banquet from 1968. This is a later pressing from 1986 with the original cover that the record company declined to use. And I think if I've got this right, this is the 7th UK Stones record, but the 9th American record. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. And this is kind of a gross cover, but I think it's better than the plain white one. And there's the interior, and of course, I think everybody knows now that after 2002, any version of this record, Beggar's Banquet, had the speed corrected, because up until then, they were recorded slower. And I think if you compare the two, the newer ones are 30 seconds shorter. So over the span of the whole record, it's 30 seconds shorter. Anyway, This is the label. Atco. Now, one thing I should say about this, and I knew this as soon as I saw it in the bin. This is in perfect shape, by the way, but as soon as I saw it in the bin, I knew what I would see on the back, and it says digitally remastered from original master recordings. I have another Stones record from this era with the same, I'm going to call it a disclaimer, but at the time I think it was a point of pride that they had digitally remastered this and used 100% virgin vinyl. So, yeah, I know what I'm getting into. I will see how it sounds, but I do like this record quite a lot, and I'm happy to have a vinyl copy. And on the same topic, Flashpoint from the Rolling Stones, a live album from 1991. Now, this is the first time that I've ever seen this record in person. Of course, the CD is quite common. It was recorded in 89, 90 on their live tour. I think the first live record since Still Life, if I'm not mistaken. So I've never actually seen a vinyl copy of this. This is a Canadian Club edition. The only Canadian pressing was from Columbia House in 1991. And astonishingly, there are 15 tracks on here. I think the CD has a couple of extra tracks. But I'm going to have to see how this sounds because they're really jammed on here like a K-Tel record. So we'll see. It has a pretty nice booklet with some credits at the front, and then the rest is just photographs of various shows and whatnot. So this is a cool find. I wouldn't have been searching for this, and I wouldn't have paid a lot for it, but the price was so good I had to have it, partly because I've never seen another copy of this, so I figure I'll never see another one. It sometimes happens where you pass up a record and you realize that was your only chance to own that. So the third record from Northern Ireland, The Undertones. From 1979, their debut record. And speaking of a lot of tracks, Stones has 15 tracks. This has 16 tracks. Now I realize that these are shorter tracks. The original first pressing of this has a different cover, of course, and has only 14 tracks because they added Teenage Kicks and Get Over You. But this is a record I've always wanted to buy, and I told myself if I ever found one at a good price, I would grab it. It says the original inner sleeve. So it's in really good shape. It's a Canadian pressing. You know, the record is not, the cover is not perfect, and I haven't played it yet, but it looks in really good shape. So I had to get that one because it's something I've had in the back of my mind for quite a while. Now the next one, and there's only 5 in total, is a record from 1996, and this is a 1996 pressing of Beck's Odelay, famous for things like New Pollution, Devil's Haircut, Where It's At. According to Discogs, some of these records came with things like a sticker, a 2-sided insert, maybe an order form, but not all of them. So either this record didn't have those things or they've been lost by the previous owner. But again, something I didn't expect to see there. I was kind of surprised to see it sitting in the bin at again, I would say a good price. I think the things I bought are things I was comfortable paying what I paid for them. So there's only one thing left, and this is I went to this table and the guy had all brand new sealed records. There were a couple of vendors who had new sealed records, and these were he had some that were 10 and some that were 20. And I will put a link to Press to Play's channel because he did get some Steve Earle records, which I considered, but I ended up getting this Richard Thompson record called 13 Rivers from 2018, his 18th record, and this one was $20, which I thought was pretty good for a brand new double vinyl recording. I thought that was a pretty good price. He's not someone I knew back in the day with Fairport Convention. I had no knowledge of that band, but at some point I got a copy of Shoot Out the Lights. I really liked that record, and I picked up a lot of other things, including Mock Tutor, which I think is a really great record. So I don't know any tracks because I've never streamed these, never heard of them, never played them, so we'll see what it's like. But I'm generally a fan of Richard Thompson. By and large, I don't think he's done anything that I've really hated. So I'm looking forward to listening to this. And I haven't even really checked out the backstory, like what was he doing, how did he record it, any of that stuff. So I don't know anything about it except that it was a good price. So there's another show in Toronto on October 21st. This is the downtown one over in the Danforth. I think they had one in April that I went to. So I will probably go to that. So that will be my next one. So I think that's it. And thanks for watching. And again, under 10 minutes.